A gold mine of 49ers info in the desert. How about 13 minutes for number 13, Brock Purdy, in his home region? That, by the way, used to be the tallest building in all of Phoenix, built in 1928. But we've got a lot more valuable 49ers intel for you coming from the owners' meetings, which happened up there at the Arizona Biltmore. Good event that informally marks the transition from NFL free agency to the NFL draft, where it certainly seems likely that the 49ers will pick an offensive lineman and a wide receiver with 2 of their 6 picks. John Lynch said that receiver is a position that's gotten so expensive at the very upper reaches, and the 49ers obviously know this through the protracted negotiation with Brandon Aiyuk. Receiver is a position where you want a rookie on a cost-control deal. Plus, you can add some explosiveness to the 49ers offense if you do that. Now, Christian Kirk, even though he's 29 years old, he's also from this Arizona desert region, from the Phoenix area. Christian Kirk adds to the 49ers team speed, but they still were one of the slowest offenses in the league last year. Also, they continue to be one of the oldest offenses in the league, and I think some youth added through the NFL draft at that wide receiver position can help explosiveness, separation, spacing, all those good things for the 49ers. We'll go through everything that we learned. I'm going to take a seat here. How about I take a seat at this one? This is good. I'm going to sit right next to, I believe, what are some cacti or something that's related to a cactus. Fitting as we hang out here in the city of Phoenix. Flip around the camera this way, perfect. We've got a nice view. We can go through, Raheem Morris, 49ers new defensive coordinator. Kyle Shanahan said that, he's known Raheem since the early 2000s when they were both young coaches on Tampa Bay's staff. And Raheem has coached on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. He's impressed Kyle in many ways. He was Kyle's wide receivers coach with Atlanta back in 2016. But what impressed Shanahan the most about his new defensive coordinator was the fact that he went up against him earlier this decade when Raheem was with the Rams, and that was a Super Bowl winning Rams defense. And Shanahan loved how Raheem took a Fangio, Brandon Staley defense, made it his, and ensured that there'd be big time success in LA. And I think that it's a hint that the 49ers are going to evolve defensively under Raheem Morris. Now, Kyle Shanahan came out with his staff change announcements. That was the big Monday news here at the NFL owners meetings. And there's one in particular that I think people should pay quite a bit of attention to, but it probably still will fly under the radar, but that's the reason why you guys watch this show. Joe Graves is the 49ers' new run game coordinator. And I think this is a significant deal because Kyle Shanahan does not give coordinator titles out for free. You have to earn those, and then you've got a significant role on this team, really as the guy in between Chris Furster, who's the offensive line coach, and Kyle Shanahan, who obviously designs all of these plays, but is going to be taking great input from his run game coordinator. And the 49ers have to get this run game going again. And that extends beyond the offensive line when we talk about blocking. The perimeter blocking has to be better. Kyle Shanahan confirmed that. But consider Joe Graves' background prior to this. He's been both an assistant offensive line coach and an assistant quarterbacks coach for the 49ers. It's an odd combination, right? Go back to somebody like Andy Reid. Mike and I scoured through coaching backgrounds around the NFL. There aren't many guys who have coached both offensive line and QBs and then graduated to be a coordinator type of position. Well, Andy Reid was one of them. Former offensive lineman, then a quarterbacks coach, and then obviously a coordinator and a play caller now for the Kansas City Chiefs, and one day is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Joe Graves has the O-line background, has the QB coach background, and now is going to be the run game coordinator for the 49ers. I think really a sign of the holistic approach that Kyle Shanahan wants to continue to take. Obviously, the 49ers have lost Brian Fleury, who did a lot of run game coordinating for them, was a tight ends coach for the 49ers. He's now the OC of the Seahawks. But Brian Fleury was someone who had a background across the entire spectrum of positions. And that's something that Kyle Shanahan really, really likes. You could see it with Raheem Morris, and you can now see it with, you saw it with Brian Fleury, and you could see it obviously with Joe Graves. Shanahan also mentioned this week that Matt Eberflus is aboard in large part because of the reasons that we just illustrated. And it's because Kyle Shanahan wants coaches who have a nice bird's eye view, who can connect everything together. Matt Eberflus, defensive coordinator, head coaching background, and probably can do a better job in that regard than a strict position coach. Jed York talked a lot about Brandon Aiyuk, and his comments made headlines because he said, well, I want Brandon Aiyuk to play for the 49ers again. And that has created ripple controversy around the league. Some people think the 49ers are holding Brandon Aiyuk hostage. Brandon Aiyuk signed a contract with the 49ers worth up to $120 million. It made him generationally wealthy. So the 49ers have every right to uphold their end of the bargain, even if Brandon Aiyuk is not upholding his. It is in the 49ers' best organizational interest to hold Brandon Aiyuk under contract until there is an incentive for the 49ers not to. And teams build protections into these deals so that they can safeguard their own business. And the 49ers did this with Brandon Aiyuk. And at the starkest level, they don't owe him any more money until September 1st, when the $25 million option bonus is due. And the contractual protections that the 49ers built into the deal require Brandon Aiyuk to actually show up so that he can trigger that option and get that money if he's still on the roster before then. Basically, ball is in Brandon Ayuk's court. He has to show up for the 49ers to be on the hook for anything. And because of that, I think the 49ers are in a position, based on what Jed York said and based on what we've heard from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch saying they're in no rush to release Brandon Aiyuk, 49ers have created a situation where they're going to force Brandon Aiyuk to show up. They're not going to make anything easy for him, nor should they. I mean, in a way, this sets precedent for the rest of the league. I don't think that we've ever seen a player sign this big of a contract and just go MIA. I mean, you could talk about Le'Veon Bell all you want, but that was Le'Veon Bell wanting more money, wanting that new longer-term contract, and not having signed one and then gone MIA. So that's what the 49ers are. John Lynch said that Joey Bosa probably going to be too expensive for the 49ers. I think that means, we talk about the 49ers potentially drafting a wide receiver and also drafting a guard. I think that there's a really good chance the 49ers go edge rusher in the NFL draft. Is there going to be somebody that they could still add in free agency? Is Bosa still possible? Maybe. Maybe prices recalibrate after the draft and Joey's still out there and decides, okay, well, this price is fine. I'll play for the 49ers at this number and I could play with my brother. But I think that realistically, San Francisco, I mean, we look at this big picture, right? Last offseason, the 49ers had to run a roster reset, a cost reset. Took some gumption to do that. They did it this year. Obviously, they were ready for a little bit more outside spending since they had allocated last year's money to players on their own roster. But if he doesn't fit under the roof of what the 49ers are trying to do financially to keep this sustainable, to be really good in the short term and really good in the long term, then he doesn't fit. And the 49ers have to find somebody who fits a role at edge rusher that might not be an every down role, that might be more of a supporting role. They need to find somebody who has a salary commensurate to that. So whatever they've offered Joey Bosa, whatever they've discussed with Joey Bosa, obviously doesn't work for Joey, which is his prerogative, and the 49ers have to find something that fits the cost structure better. And I think that the NFL draft certainly is the avenue where you can get that cost-controlled talent. 49ers said bye to Jawan Jennings formally this week. I mean, again, if Jennings doesn't find a deal worth more than $5 million and there's something really, really cheap, yeah, you could see him returning to the 49ers, but that is a when pigs fly type of situation. It's not going to happen. He's very likely going to earn, I would think, more than $10 million from somebody. The 49ers try to lock him down at 12 million a year last offseason. That ship has obviously sailed. They will miss Juwan Jennings. He was so good on third downs for this team. He's so good blocking. He had the attitude that I think the 49ers wanted to play with. He would get under opponents' skin, and unfortunately they couldn't find that long-term deal with him last offseason. He bet on himself. Still remains to be determined if that bet is going to pay off for Juwan Jennings, but he almost certainly won't get $20 million. And the 49ers now have Mike Evans on their team. Kyle Shanahan wants to reduce Christian McCaffrey's workload. Makes sense since he had 413 carries or touches last year. But it's tough because Christian is such an important part of the pass game and the run game. So not only do you have to have somebody who can run effectively to give you peace of mind when Christian McCaffrey takes a breather, you have to make sure you're taking care of in the pass game. So in a big way, adding Christian Kirk and adding Mike Evans to the receiver room and maybe adding another tight end over the course of the NFL draft or the rest of free agency can help the 49ers feel better about giving Christian McCaffrey more breathers. But last year, he was able to hold that pass game together, even when Brock Purdy was hurt and all the receivers were hurt and Brandon Aiyuk was MIA, because he is such a force in the receiving game. It was a busy, busy weekend here, and we could finish with Brock Purdy since we started with Brock Purdy, and this is his home region here in Arizona. So we said that we'd go 13 minutes for number 13. Well, Brock Purdy is going to have a task of 5 things to study and complete before the start of OTAs. Kyle Shanahan called it the 5 cut-ups. Like, they cut up the film and they'll give him some nice soft compliments, and then they'll take some bad plays for Brock Purdy from the previous season and say, hey, we got to have you fix some of this and be ready to knock out some potentially bad habits or whatever it may be ahead of training camp. Well, that's what's next. 49ers will soon have Purdy and company back in the building. Those guys are going to be joined by a rookie class. Obviously, the free agents whom the 49ers have already signed are also going to be part of all this. And then it will be time to fly into that 2026 season. So Purdy probably will spend maybe a little bit of time here back home, the original hometown, before it all starts. He's in that Nashville area now, though, so there's no longer the permanent home for Brock Purdy. But the 49ers are excited. Purdy's excited. Now we'll see how the 49ers complete the construction of their roster in 2026. So long from Phoenix. It was a productive owners meeting. Hopefully you enjoyed the coverage. We'll talk to you guys soon.